You're road tripping with Todd Sawatzky Appraisals. Welcome to part 5 of this multi-video in-depth tour through Hockey Hall of Fame's Resource Centre. In part 4, we got to see just a tiny glimpse of nearly 100 years of international hockey artifacts. Getting a chance to hold a little bit of that history was truly incredible. In part 5, we're going to be getting educated on hockey photo negatives. We're joined by another guest here. This is Craig Campbell. And what is your title, Craig?
Right now it's Manager, Resource Centre and Archives, but you never know.
Fantastic. So you're taking us into a different room, which is, of course, separated from the rest of the main archives here. You call it the cold room?
Correct. Cold room is the nickname, and it is a colder climate, temperature, humidity, whatnot from this area.
Okay.
And that's because of the contents within, which include our physical photographic film, our moving picture film, moving picture video, and physical audio tape.
Fantastic.
So it's a very special collection. Many collections within the collection, but let's go in there and tour you through this special archive.
All right, sounds good. Let's take a look around. Right away, as you can tell the difference in terms of the temperature. And right away, as you can smell the difference as well.
So you can smell the content, the vinegar smell that is often associated with original old-time photographic film, more so than anything.
Makes sense.
You have an idea what's in here. Our moving picture collection is good. Our photographic collection could be, the biggest hockey-specific era-by-era collection in the world. And I think it probably is. There's other sources, photo agencies and whatnot that are very much for profit, and they do a wonderful job in their own right, but they don't have the content that we have decade by decade, going back certainly to the 1930s for game action, but then team photos, portraits, etc., that would proceed, going back to the 1880s.
Wow. Is there anything somewhat special that we could maybe take a look at very quickly if you're able to show us?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I appreciate that.
So, well, I'll leave this open here. This gives you an idea of, 1970s photography and the film that's available, the cameras that are available. And
you can even see the size difference in the film slides.
Correct. So you have 2 1/4, either negative or color transparency, or negative strip versus 35 mil slide, which is just basically transparency strips that are cut up, mounted, and we're looking at Robert Shaver, who's based out of Buffalo and was a long time primarily Buffalo Sabres team photographer. But he obviously shot every team.
Well, yeah.
So each photographer is from a different area. In some cases, a photographer may move around, like David Klutholt. He was one of the primary shooters for Sports Illustrated. So he was to various games. And he did not miss a Stanley Cup Championship final game from 1986 to 2018. He's the only photographer that did not miss a single game during that stretch.
That's incredible.
So we don't have all his stuff yet, but I just talked to him just yesterday. But some of his stuff has just come in here. But we have some here from a previous donation. And he's a marvelous photographer. So, however, one of the things I've done over the years is, Lou Portnoy, and he had some other guys shooting with him as well, but primarily Lou, and what a gem of a individual. And so he shot out of St. Louis, and he basically turned half the ice rink into like a studio. So that know his photography because the background falls to black because there's no strobe lights.
Really?
And so it's unique looking. But we had a Gary Younger 8x10, and it's just pristine. The colors of, Gary Younger had blonde hair, and so just the
and St. Louis had very colorful jerseys as well. So
correct.
I could see how that would really,
the blue and the gold and the white and the blue note. So he lived at 5 Carroll Lane in St. Louis, Missouri, and I went to visit him, and we just received another donation from Lois, his partner. Lou unfortunately has passed, but he has seen this collection in the archive that we had down at the museum before we moved here. And Lois I still keep in touch with, as I try to do with all the collections, because it could be one slide, or in this case, Lou, one photograph, find out who's shooting, try to see what they're doing with their collection. It's a physical asset. This is for the most part, Lou's for the first 3 columns.
Wow, that's a lot of slides.
So it's a big collection, and this is what's been scanned. There's his company name, Spectra Action, and this is what needs to be scanned.
So just a little bit of work ahead of you.
Just a little bit of work, correct. So he finishes here, and then we have some other collections. So every collection I try to put in by era. So if I'm looking for, a player like, I don't know.
It could even be a one gamer.
Well, and so in which case I just recently found a one gamer who played for St. Louis, and we had a portrait, but now I found a shot of him in action. Don Cayley, a goaltender, he played part of one game in Toronto, and in cataloging. So part of this is, it's fine to have the physical asset, but we need to barcode it. Then our IT manager, Anthony Fusco, set up, and through his either him directly or indirectly, a wonderful collections management system for us to store the digital image, but also make it available on a platform called Images on Ice, which anybody and anywhere in the world can type in imagesonice.net, go to the search bar, type in Gary Younger, and you'll see his pictures, or of course you'll see honored member pictures of, from Eddie Shore to, Rocket Richard to Bobby Orr to Wayne Gretzky, Mario Lemieux, etc.
Fantastic.
So a lot is here. When I started, there was probably maybe 30,000 original pieces of film, and now I guesstimate that it's between 3 and 4 million.
Wow, that's quite the uptick.
And so it's the biggest thing I take away, and it's not just the photography, because obviously I'm involved with artifacts and everything that you've seen out there, and Isaac's explaining it to you further, but it's the generosity of people who might be viewing this podcast, or it's people that you don't know, we know now, but they've kindly donated either the most treasured item or the most treasured collection within their family history. And that's players. That's the player's family. That's a neighbor of the player. That's a team, league, federation, all the people that we come in contact with. But the physical asset of photography and moving picture film, it's a wonderful thing. And we can share this now with the world, because it's a simple phone call or imagesonice.net, and you can see, some of the stuff of Lou's, and otherwise, Robert Shaver and the great Sawatzky collection, Michael Burns and Harold Barkley, etc.
Okay.
Do you want to see a glass plate negative?
That would be amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess now we're going into some of the older stuff you have here, not just the film films like you had here, but these are glass plates?
Correct. So glass plate negatives, and not the flimsy, bendable, acetate negatives that could be as small as a 35 mil or smaller, but up to even 4x5 or 5x7. This is an actual piece of glass, and that's how they originally would capture the image. So
That's incredible.
It has been handmade by a former intern named Paul Sargent that kindly put all this together, the individual sleeves, the boxes that they reside in, and we've scanned them all, and they each have a barcode. So you can find this on Images on Ice when you look up Conn Smythe. So I'll just give you an idea, because most people have not seen, well, you've seen glass before, but you haven't seen a photographic negative. So the one side is shiny, the emulsion is a little bit dull, but if you can get anything from that?
Oh, absolutely. So that is of Conn Smythe once again.
Correct.
And
so that would be a posed portrait that was made. It's from the famous Lou and Nat Tarofsky brothers archive. And so this would have been shot in the 1930s. And I may have an actual date or guesstimate online, but we know it's the 30s.
Yeah.
We have glass plate negatives from earlier, from turn of the century, from the 20s, but specifically to the Tarofskys, mostly late 20s, throughout the 30s, and then they went to the acetate film, which would be the same size. It was just flimsy, a little bit easier to process, and less worrisome for damage, because some of these came to us in the collection crap. So now the nice thing is Photoshop or another product can allow us to
fill in that gap.
But obviously we would prefer a full image.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So
that's fascinating.
Yeah.
Those are really interesting too.
So we have some more outside of the Tarofsky collection. So we have probably 1,000. Original glass plate negatives. And then, so this is our oldest material, primarily. And then we get into other collections, and as we move closer to the exit door, that's sort of takes you up to about 2,000.
Wow, now that was educating. Seeing all those amazing photo negatives of all the hockey shots that helped bring hockey to life long before the digital age was truly remarkable. It was also incredible to see some of the original photo negatives that were on glass. Glass! Wow, that's all I can say is wow. In part 6, we're going to dive a little bit deeper and moving on to film negatives, the moving picture style. So please stay tuned for that. If you have any further suggestions for any future road tripping videos, or any of my other video series like Hobby Heroes, Treasures from the Vault, or Appraisal Definitions, I would love to hear from you. Please feel free to add your comments below. Please like or subscribe to my page. If you would like to have an appraisal done for yourself, please email me or contact me by any of my social media platforms. Until next time.